Hello everybody! I'm now live on Instagram waiting for everybody to join. Today I'm very excited to be joined by James from BBC Three's Glow Up. I'm very, very excited. Hello there, Rachel. We're just getting started. Wait for people to join. Hello everybody, thanks for joining. This is very, very exciting. Gonna wave to everybody. How's everybody's day been? Hope everybody's had a good day. Oh, I just realised I can add some light to the live. Here we go. Let's put the light on, shall we? Ooh, what do we think, guys? Light or no light? How is everybody? How's everybody's day been? Just waiting for James to join. Hello, Joe. Hello, Amanda. Oh, it's the twins. Hello, Leah. How is everybody doing? Hope you've all had a good start to your week. La 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 la. Hi, Lois. Hi, Amy. Hello, everybody. I'm good, thank you, Amy. It's been very good, actually. It's a good, productive Monday, which is always nice. Thank you so much, Leah. Very kind. Hi, Stacey. How are you? We are just waiting for James. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us. You can't hear me? Okay, that's a good job to let me know now. Hold on. Do you know what I just realised? It might be... Can you guys hear me? I'm just... Here we go. Let's see. Oh, everybody can hear. That's good. Just checking. Right, I'm just going to go... Hopefully this will work. Technology, please be on our side today. Here we go. Hello, James.
Hey,
How are you?
Not too bad. What's the crack? Hey, everyone.
Everybody's online. We've got people joining from all over the place, which is great. How's your day been, James?
I love it. I'm good, hon. How are you? Happy Monday.
I know. It's been a very productive Monday, I have to say. How's yours been?
It's been good. It's been good. I've actually just uploaded a load of YouTube videos because I'm in the middle of trying to set up a YouTube channel after the whole glow up, experience crazy. I've kind of only given myself time to catch up, old videos and then a few new things. So kind of part of the next chapter, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, I love YouTube. It's so much fun. So if you need tips or anything, then just shoot me a DM. I'm always happy to help. So
100%.
I think we should get started on some questions. I'm
Definitely.
very excited to have you here. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much. I'm absolutely buzzing. Listen, I have no problem chatting. So this is just second nature to me.
Yes.
It'll be totally grand.
Amazing. So, I mean, I'm probably going to ask you a few things that you might have been asked before. So I'm hoping that we've got some new questions in there. But the first question I wanted to ask that perhaps wasn't really covered on the show that much was where you actually first started doing makeup. Because obviously they give you those little short intros, but I'd like to know the James story, not the edit.
Exactly. True point. So I'll just say as a disclaimer, I'm going to do a little bit of makeup throughout this live because why not? That's the whole purpose of, I guess, what I've been recognized for.
Absolutely.
I love art, okay? I love art. Art was my big kind of go-to when I was a kid. My dad's sister is my godmother, and she lived out in West Ireland in Galway, and every year there was a Galway Arts Festival, and she herself was a performer and an artist. Used to paint and do ceramics all the time. And for anyone as a side piece of knowledge, there's an amazing pottery store in Galway called Judy Green. She's internationally recognized, in my own makeup style, that kind of ceramic style of moss painting and glossing, white enameling around clay pots. That's kind of where I get some makeup inspiration. So it comes from those early days. And then I think once I kind of going up as a teenager, hormones, sexuality, identity, I started just use makeup as an art form. And that's no joke. It's just I realized I can actually paint makeup on my face, or my face is a canvas. So very art based. And then about the age of 15 or 16, I just got really into drawing eyes. I love face charts. So I drew eyelashes, eyebrows, all that kind of thing in all my school books. And I was really, really worried about it. I was really apprehensive of showing it off or showcasing it. So I had a permanent marker in my pencil case. And at the end of every class, I used to block it out, kind of like block it off, because I
Oh,
was just
really?
I had this mentality when I was younger, thinking like, I guess I had no like other role models, or like without the rise of social media, even 10 years ago, to think that, my interest in makeup was kind of somewhat like, okay. It felt like very much like a little niche, or something quite, there wasn't a lot of things I could relate to from where I was in Ireland.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it just naturally kind of transitioned into doing makeup on myself. And that kind of coincided with drag, knowing that like I was gay and that there was more than just that. I kind of was just like really invested in queer artistry, the queer community, wanting to do drag. And I kind of put it all on the back burner when I was like 18, 19. Went to uni, that
Yeah.
was great fun. I studied photography. So like everything about my nurturement growing up was always like, highly visually related.
Hmm.
And then I just made a decision 3 years ago to actually go back, do a short training course in Ireland. And that
Amazing.
was 2 summers ago when I graduated. And it's just the way the ball kind of was rolling. My first job happened to be in the UK. And that was like
Amazing.
hugely, yeah. So, step by step.
That's awesome. You're just like, you walk out of your training, you're like, boom, I've got a booking. Love that. That's
Oh, well,
amazing.
it was scary. It was real scary. It was talking about diving into the deep end. It was working on the CBBC's Horrible History series.
Oh, yes. Amazing.
Nay, it was insane. It was like, high demand. I hadn't had any like professional hair training. I just specifically did makeup in Ireland. So to
Yeah.
go into that environment, and especially on like a TV set where there was no space to mess up.
Hmm.
I think the environment, having that experience really helped me with the hours that we had to do in filming Glow Up, and just, there's a constant amount of requirements,
Hmm.
understanding when there's like, having to go back and do B-roll. It was really diving into the deep end, but, you know,
Yeah.
2 years later, I'm happy that I had that kind of experience.
Absolutely. And also, I didn't actually do any prosthetics myself, but because I talk a lot about my hair loss,
Yeah.
I actually did a BBC kind of documentary called Too Young to Go Bald. And
Oh,
basically,
wow.
for that, what they did was they actually did prosthetics on my head and made me
Oh my
bald just
goodness.
to see what it would look like. And it took, like, I was in the chair for, I think, like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
And that was
Hmm.
mainly so that they could get it to match my skin tone and color. So
Yeah.
obviously that's kind of what you're doing now on your face,
Yeah.
like, and your eyebrows as well. I've just been noticing. By the way, your eyes are beautiful. And a lot of people are saying in the comments. I've just got to mention that.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, obviously, like, there's a little bit of like enhancement to my contact color. I'm not shy of an eye contact, like especially when I'm doing looks that I just want to correlate, like, these vibrant colors. Yeah, I just love to play around. So thank you very, and hi everyone. I am watching the comments as well.
Yeah, and also obviously you mentioned who inspired you to start to do makeup, like kind of briefly. But obviously
Hmm.
before you did series two of Glow Up, there was series one, and I was wondering when
Hmm.
you saw series one, who was your favorite, and why did you decide to apply for series two?
Where this is crazy. Are you reading my mind? Literally, I was getting my little studio. So like back home in Ireland, I've had like a temporary setup for the last couple of months with COVID, and I
Hmm.
was just giving it a quick hoover, kind of like cleaning for the week ahead. And it was crossed my mind. I was like, God, who was my favorite in Glow Up? Everyone had a different strength in like the creative briefs. I think I can really like resonate with Ellis's style of makeup simply because I do drag myself, and a lot of my makeup style has been heavily influenced from drag before going into makeup professionally. And
Yeah.
I made a conscious decision to separate my drag from this JMac account just before Glow Up started. Because I
Hmm.
got a professional advice saying, the drag for me was somewhat like a hobby that was like partially work, partially pastime. It was just a creative outlet, where this is like where I advertise my professional work. So feel I really was drawn to Ellis's work 100%.
Yeah.
I loved Lee's artistry, his line work.
Oh yeah.
Again, I see a little bit of Belinda in me, but I love her work just as a fan, because the
Hmm.
paint work she did, I love that.
Beautiful.
I did, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And prior to, well, kind of in the midst of when I did my training in Ireland, I was taking evening courses with an Irish company called Dublin Body Paint. So that's
Hmm.
where I kind of learned a lot of my paint work, which then I kind of, just migrated into my creative makeup artistry. I use it a lot, the different like skills and techniques on the show's creative briefs, and that comes
Yeah.
from when I did the body paint training. So yeah, they'd have to be my favorites. There's not one set one, because as a viewer in season 1, you know, my opinions and kind of like my favorites kind of changed, and I even
Yeah.
witnessed that myself this season with some people one week going like, I love this, I love you, and next week I love this. Like, it was a complete roller coaster. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone's looks were so unique and on brand, really, for themselves, and that's what I loved about Glow Up. It was all about being yourself. There was no prejudgment, you know, apart from the
Yeah.
actual technique and the colors that you use and the blending and things like that. There was no, you shouldn't be doing that because it comes from your past. It was very much about, we want to hear and get to know you through the makeup, that's why I love the show so much. And
100%.
personally, you had so many different stories to tell through your makeup. It wasn't just, I'm putting this makeup on, you know, every single look had purpose. So what happened when you got the call for the Glow Up? Was it just, obviously it must have been quite a lengthy application process that probably not a lot of people know about?
Yeah, so there is to an extent what we can actually discuss about the process. Like any kind of like production, there's an application, you know, process you have to go through. I think season 3 is already available and open to people to apply. I've had loads of messages of people saying I've applied, you know, and I'm just like advice on what to do. And the key advice, regardless if it was ever season 1, 2, or now 3, just always be yourself. It was a lengthy process. It started like way over a year ago now, and it finished just. I got the call at the end of the summer because we did film in the autumn last year, pre-COVID and all the kind of like current restrictions.
Yeah.
And you know, I just didn't give myself any expectations because it was like every single phone call, my heart would race faster, getting closer to like the finish line of being casted, at least into the final 10, because you could get so close to the end. And the way they even kind of like were addressing the last phone call, they were like, thank you for your time, thank you. And I'm like, but? And then, you know, on this occasion, it just happened to be more of a positive thing. And I was ecstatic. I was actually back in Ireland at Dublin's first LGBT music festival last summer. And I was actually doing wigs and makeup for one of my fellow drag sisters in Ireland. They perform with this Irish kind of events outlet called Sing Along Social. Basically, drunk karaoke for non-singers. And it's like a huge event. I was doing wigs, like, covered in hair and makeup as it is, and then I got a phone call, and my friends kind of knew, and I was like, I'm going to go outside, guys, and just kind of like roll with the punches. So you know, I think I don't downplay it. Obviously, I like lost my SH1T. I'm so excited. But and my friend actually had videoed kind of the moment of reaction coming back into the apartment, because they were like, we could see you like skipping back into the door. That was good news. And I think even then my head was just like prepared for, okay, but I have to, you know, think about what the show entails. Getting to that point is a huge achievement in itself, but you know, like anyone's passion, you want to now excel and just push yourself. And that, you know, that really did happen.
And of course, you have to keep a lot of secrets as well before you even get to the show, because obviously, if you filmed it autumn of last year, every week you must have been like itching, and you had to kind of keep it from your friends, your family. You know, it's all part of the special surprise. What was it 100%. Like when you told your friends and family that you were a finalist? Because that's incredible.
For the show, or when the like actually applying for the show as a cast member?
For the actual show. So when you got to that final.
It was crazy. You know, I think from working as a trainee in TV film, I have signed contracts and done shows where, like Horrible Histories, for example, came out last summer, 9 months after we finished it when I first moved to London. And I couldn't necessarily talk about that. So it's not that I 100%, I don't forget about it. It's obviously in the forefront of my mind, but I'm quite good at kind of keeping busy, focus on the next thing, staying proactive with, like, you know, always kind of moving forward in a sense. So that kind of helped me just like not get too overwhelmed or overexcited and thinking that, God, I'm going to like spill the beans or say it anytime soon. I knew the production value of not telling anyone and then letting it be such a more like, you know, authentic surprise, and people will be like really gagged. And that kind of fueled my own kind of like just secrecy, holding on to it. It'll be a much better, you know, kind of reaction then.
Of course. And with every week came a different look, and the first look, which is the butterfly, I've actually got I've got a picture here. I should be able to share it in case people have been a few weeks since the show and the first one aired, but we've got it here. So I decided to put it in the live. Why not?
The infamous Yeah.
You spoke about living in Lapland for 6 months, and I really want to know what that was like for you.
Yeah, so I'm a Rolodex of just a lot of kind of like stories. Like I'm a massive storyteller, so I can go on many tangents. But
Uh-huh.
I I was 18 and I just finished my secondary level exams in Ireland, and I didn't get into my first college choice, which was multimedia. I actually got a horrible grade in English, ironically, and I had to take a year out. Prior to finishing school, when I was 16, I actually lived in Switzerland for 6 months and I trained
Wow.
as a ski instructor. So if anyone wants professional skiing lessons, I can take you on the Alps or go skiing anytime. It's kind of a bit of an odd, specific hobby to have. And
Yeah.
I was just fortunate in Ireland, after you do like your inter-cert, like your junior cert exams, the equivalent
Hmm.
of like the GCSEs, you can take like what's called a working year abroad, or like a work experience year out of school before you do your final state exams when you're
That's
18.
amazing.
So I was in a co-ed boarding school, and luckily I just like the principal and the teaching committee were just like sound enough to let me take the work year out of school, actually, because there's a program where you do your work experience, but while you're still in school, you have like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks off, you come back to school for like one term. But no, I was just like, I'm a massive skier. I'd gone skiing with my family on a yearly basis anyway, so it is kind
Yeah.
of an acute hobby. But then that translated into, once I finished school, I already had my teaching degree, and it wasn't the plan to actually take a year out before college because I didn't think that I would not get in. But
Yeah.
then it was around October time. We're looking at about 2012 here, a couple of years back,
Hmm.
and it was too late for me to get an instructor's job in the Alps or somewhere in like Central Europe,
Yeah.
because so many of the skiing jobs are um you're hired like the previous spring, because this wasn't like part of my plan of action. So I just filtered out winter work abroad, and I had to
Yeah.
go for an interview in Russell Square in London,
Right.
and I got
That's
this
quite a
job
journey for
working.
you.
Oh, listen, the Western Rail couldn't get enough of me going from like Ireland, Wales, over to London and back. And
Yeah.
I got this 5 month job working as an outdoor pursuits assistant in Lapland for this holiday company called Transun. And I was actually an elf for the entertainment like department, where the
Right.
children were flown out on a plane. It was up in like the Swedish Finnish border in the
Oh,
Arctic
wow.
tundra, no sunlight, just darkness, about 21, 22 hours of the day with a
God.
little bit of twilight. But
Yeah.
great experience. I could, so many various things happened there.
Hmm.
But one thing that was just like visually prominent for me in my memory was the Northern Lights. Like they were
Yeah.
out like nearly every night.
And you can see
And
that in the makeup look as well.
yeah, like that color palette. And I actually did a series where I recreated most of my creative briefs from Glow Ups this series. And I actually am quite proud of the recreation of this look, because, in the last 9 months, you learn so much on the show, and then you practice like continuing your makeup artistry post Glow Up.
Hmm.
Recreating this look, I actually got a lot more of the color palette in that I wanted. And
Yes.
that was really just the start, I think, of me even experiencing life after school, because I'd gone to boarding school for 6 years from the age of 12 to
Yeah.
18. So ironically, even where I am now, I don't think I've ever spent as much consecutive time at home in my family house in Ireland for
Yeah.
like the last 14 or 15 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm actually at home as well because obviously COVID. I've kind of had to do that, but I live full time in London. But that's
Yeah.
really interesting how you talk about the adventure, that kind of side of things as well, because that's part of your learning experience. And me and my friend Chloe, we love our skiing, so that's really cool to hear. And the
Mm.
second look I have to talk about, because this has to be one of my favourite of the series by far, mainly because he's an icon. You can't beat him, and of course it's Starman, like Bowie. Like,
Oh my
wow.
goodness.
That must have been a scary thing when you thought, right, I'm going to do Bowie, because he's obviously got such a huge reputation. He's got
Yeah.
iconic makeup looks. What was it like for you to actually go, oh my God, I'm actually doing this?
Um, you know, the fact that it had like I chose such a big icon, of course I knew, okay, I really had to play to my strengths from a makeup point of view. And then I also needed to essentially be iconic, stand out. And again, prior to Glow Up last summer, another one of my icons would definitely have to be my parents. I am an only child, so my mom and dad, we are like we're just such a close family. And my dad is a massive music fan. I'd have to dance for me dinner at home. Like we're always
Oh,
dancing to some Pink Floyd, ABBA, Mercury, is obviously Bowie.
yeah.
And last summer when I was at home, my dad was like, I just like to see like one of your makeup looks, because I'd spent 2 weeks back in Ireland prior to Glow Up as kind of like a holiday break from just working in London.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, right, what can I do for dad that would be Bowie inspired, but would be kind of like, blow him out of the water. And one of my favorite lines from Bowie, I did say it on the show, but again, with edit, one of my favorite
Mhm.
lines from Bowie is there life on Mars? So essentially, I
Oh,
was like, okay, how can I encapsulate something that's very Bowie-esque, the Ziggy Stardust stripe?
yeah.
What can I do to make it outlandish? So I kind of thought, okay, bring it out of space. Why not put a ball cap on your head for more canvas? And
So
then
good.
I love anything like, I mean, they call it a Smurf. I think more of like Eiffel 65's Blue Dabba G vibes.
Yes.
I thought, yes, bopper, an
Tune.
absolute
Yeah.
bopper. Bring the clubs back when it's safe to do so.
I
And
agree.
I thought to myself, okay, we're going to create a blue alien, and we're going to like encapsulate how I would vision makeup using the words "Is there life on Mars?"
Hmm.
And obviously, I needed to like give it that Bowie-esque stamp. So
Yeah.
I practiced this look in myself before Glow Up. And I learned some things even like, from a makeup technique point of view. I done originally in water-based colors. They would dry with a latex ball cap, and the edges were showing when I practiced it. So it's kind of like, it's hard to explain without just being, I suppose, the law of the attraction. I was always meant to give that look a run through, because I knew then what products to use to make sure it was as finesse as possible. And my model for the day, Theo, he was just stunning. Like,
Yeah.
there's that clip, I think, when I walk in, I'm just like, oh my God, because he was perfect. He really fit the brief. And
Yeah.
he even said himself, he's like, am I going to look stunning? And I was like, oh my God, babes, you have no idea.
Perfect skin, perfect face, perfect model. We love
Exactly.
that. And also, you recreated it recently. I've got another picture here.
Yeah, there
Bit
we
zoomed
go.
in, but
I actually had a conversation with Dominic Skinner on DMs prior to the show, because I'd always struggled thinking it was definitely playing to my strengths. I wondered how could I even elevate the look more, because I had walked away from the show. It had been a couple of months, obviously, and I was
yeah,
like, what can I do to obviously, you know, just a glow up of the glow up looks, which I tried to do on Instagram weekly with every show that's being aired. And
yeah.
but I just thought I always wanted to work with a different color palette. I kind of
Hmm.
like finesse the drag eye, like
Love
doing
it.
that 2.5 hours. I worked right down to the wire. I remember Stacey being like, "Time's up," and I was just like, "Boom!"
Do you
Like
know
there was
what you're
no extra
amazing
time.
at? For me, what you're amazing at is the combination of purple, pinks, red, and blues. There's just something that you do with them, and those kind of the molding of those colors. And I think is probably more later in the series you really develop that. But what you're doing right now, in fact, did you want to just talk me through the color that you've chosen? Because
Yeah.
yeah,
So this is I'll say the product brand. It's the P. Louise Mitchell Acid Rain kind of like cream base called Raven. And
yeah,
when it kind of oxidizes a little bit, so it kind of has like a purple payoff. And again, I think just with color theory, I just love working with vibrant colors, but they're going to complement themselves. And I would
yeah.
have studied like some color theory when I was in college. And for my major in photography, I actually did a group thesis with some other classmates on color theory.
Hmm.
I did a documentary, which I'll link to you following the live,
Oh, please
all
do.
based around color blindness. And we interviewed 6 Dublin artists that were body painters, that were spray painters, and one of them was a botanic garden florist, where they arranged the color pattern of flowers in Trinity College's botanic gardens. But they were
Hmm.
all colorblind. So we did a photo publishment that I directed the photography of, and everything was all about block colors, how color
Wow.
identified with gender. I was blown away with Lee's story, hence in season 1, because as a makeup
Mhm.
artist, he's colorblind. And I remember texting my friends watching series 1, being like, lads, if we could go back in time to uni, we could have gotten Lee. He would have been an amazing interviewee for our thesis. So I
Yeah.
think just practicing color theory, I just get used to knowing what I like to work with, and then
Hmm.
essentially what might pop. Always know your color combinations, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that was kind of it's something that I like. I can't not work with colors. Like Pinks and
Yeah.
bright blues. Hey, what can you say? I am part of the rainbow, honey. Like,
And
you
we're
know.
camp and fabulous. I love that. And but the great thing about you as well, though, you didn't just show that on the show. So if we go to week 3, which was calm after the storm, which I've got here,
Ah,
this is
yeah.
so different to everything else you did. But also, I've got to mention this because you said it on the show. I don't think it was. I think it might have been this look, but it was to your granddad. So it was dedicated to
Yes.
your granddad, wasn't it? If I'm right.
Yes. And again, call it such an irony. My granddad's 10th anniversary was on Saturday, the 25th of July,
Oh.
on the creative brief, where I actually, on the creative brief where I have the face chart, I
Mm-hmm.
have written the date 25th of July 2010. So it was quite apt that this program happened last year, and the airing time has just been so recently that
Yeah.
you kind of, there's very little I can kind of proof or just describe how things happen for the right reason at the right time. Like Globe,
Yeah.
essentially, I think I always had a passion for it. I was never meant to be part of season 1. I fell upon discovering season 1 when I was in the UK, and
Mm-hmm.
who knows, I might have not, my break might have not come if I missed this season and gone for season 3. You just can't explain sometimes how things are meant to align. So yeah, it's a
Exactly.
huge thing, and I think it really resonates with my dad, because that was a big thing growing up, even as a kid, and especially being part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah.
I'm the only child of an only son, so I always had this like preconceived idea of thinking that before coming out, I had to like carry on a family name. All these little kind of like small thought process.
I do
So
that as well. Yeah, I completely agree. Like before I came out, I was very worried. I was just like, oh, what about kids? What about marriage? What are my parents going to think? And you do have those thought processes, don't you? You just want to make them proud. That's how you feel. But
exactly.
I was quite lucky in that my parents were incredibly supportive. And I've actually got quite a lot of Irish family, which is funny. You might have noticed from my name, but weirdly, my
Yes,
name doesn't actually. Yeah.
there's always a connection there somewhere.
Right, yeah. But also like it looks like a piece of art, this one in particular. Like, everything else is very artist, but like this one in particular is something that you would put on, you'd go on a cliffside and you'd look at the sea and you'd paint it,
Yeah.
and that's what I saw
Oh.
when I saw it. I loved it. But I think up there with Bowie was definitely week 4, the club kids
Ah.
look. Like, oh my god, James, like literally I got goosebumps and I was like, he has to win. That was my exact like words. I saw it and I was like, he has to win. This is like, because if you do know the drag scene and
Yes.
club kids and drag race and all kinds of things, you've never seen anything quite like this. And it just it resonates with me. It makes me think of those things. It makes me think of the clubbing scene. And I was like, because I was watching in lockdown, I was like, oh my god, someone get me to a club, like,
Yes, I know. But it's funny, Perry. I had the exact same aspirations. It brought back such good memories. It brought back such desire just to go out clubbing again. And that's how I even kind of elevated my makeup, I guess, when first moving to London. I got into drag when I first moved to the UK. I think, again, it's just timing. There's a huge, incredible, talented scene in the Irish drag scene as well. And when lockdown even like lifts, I'd love to integrate more with being back in Ireland, like Dublin, and then go back to the UK. But the talent in the UK alone, I really had to set my game up. So I discovered a lot of like the club scene, and then kind of like amalgamating it with like cabaret kind of performance, femme drag, but then also just drag is art. Like club culture is an art form, it's an art expression. So
it
I
is.
was just in my like heyday, like in my element for that week. And again, everything kind of happens at a different pace. You see where I have different struggles getting closer to the end. I'd
Yeah.
like to think I'm a prime example of things do not go to plan all the time. There are
Mhm.
so many more red chairs than I had blue chairs, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like you just have to take the good with the bad. So I just think I felt lucky, but I was just happy. It was just a good week. That's like as a whole in the show. I would say week 4, between the attitude shoot and obviously the creative brief and Michelle. That's like my favorite
Yes, queen.
moment. Yes, girl. One take magic. That was so
Wow.
authentic. It was like, because you can't get B-roll of me trying to lose my crap again.
No, exactly. But I mean, Dominic as well, post show, actually commented on the look on Instagram I saw, and he said crazy, chaotic, cool, and brilliant. What was it like post show being in lockdown, the BBC account uploading that look, and then seeing Dominic, one of the judges, actually take time out of his day to go, and comment that. That must have felt quite amazing.
It felt absolutely incredible. I felt so grateful, and it felt just quite like, a moment to cherish. These moments kind of go by in a flash. You get
Yeah,
so many, like, take all the highs, all the amazing highs with the lows. But I think the best thing is to always remain humble and grateful, and just know that take pride in when your work is being showcased and, like, being complimented on. Because there's going to be times when, I'm always focusing on the next thing. So I just kind of roll with the positivity and, fuel into it. Don't shake any of it off or deny any of it. I'm very
yeah,
proud of that work. So I was really appreciative of what anybody had to say about it. And, as an artist, when you always want to learn and grow, I recreated that look on my socials, and I finessed it so much more because I learned from that experience. But yeah, I think I remember doing that look and being like, don't be afraid to just give it a wally.
yeah.
There's a moment that really stands out in my mind when doing that brief. Val and Dominic, they do walk around the HQ
Oh
when we're
god.
doing the looks. And I remember I was doing one moment, I think I was doing the feather brush strokes in the left eye. And
Hmm.
Val was like right up beside me watching the strokes. And I remember being like, I'm one brush stroke away from probably leaving this competition if it goes wrong.
Yeah,
And they can't give much away for, like, fairness and equality. They leave all of their debrief right until you stand up in front of the judges.
wow.
Like, you're not going to get a sense of if they think it's good or not, because
Yeah.
anything could happen to the look seconds before the bell rings.
Hmm.
So, but I do remember looking through Val, thinking, knowing her background story when she had worked with a lot of club kids and drag artists in Australia in the 80s. A fun fact about Val. And they've seen their fun. And I think there was a little slight moment where I saw she kind of looking at it, and then she kind of just went like smirked a little bit, and I kind of thought, could she like this? But keep going, because I'm like, don't get complacent.
Yeah.
had like another half an hour to go, but yeah, I felt good. It was what I needed to kind of prove myself, I suppose, as a strong contender going forward. When you see that there's so many other hurdles still, right till the
Yeah.
very end of the season.
I mean, you still had a lot to go through, and I think the next look as well, look 5, is obviously the fears and the goat. And again, that
Oh
must be
yeah,
so hard when you're thinking about a past experience, but then you're
yeah,
putting it into prosthetics as well, so you're having to bring it to life. And I
yeah,
personally think they were very harsh on you that week about the horns on either side, because I was like, when you look at a goat, let's be real here. I don't think I ever look at the symmetry of it. So I was just thinking, I feel for James here, because actually I wouldn't even think about that when doing the horns, because you see goats and they have different twists and turns on their sides. So I don't know,
yeah.
I just thought it was harsh.
Everything comes to a balance. Like, you see, the show has a storyline essentially when producers obviously know how far a contestant might go, and everything is authentic, everything is legitimate as I feel as it happens. But there are negatives, or there's constructive comments with positives. To put a fun fact in, with week 4, when there was a great positive feedback, Dominic had given me constructive criticism as well. He had said one thing about the red lip being imbalanced and,
Right.
having to fix symmetry. So there is a plan where they want to have contestants because they want to keep it fresh. You think, I'm a potential winner in episode 4. I'm in the face-off in week 5.
Yeah.
It just didn't hit the brief. The execution wasn't an issue. And I think I know that myself, but that's where I learned so much about trying to understand briefs. Like,
Yeah.
everyone takes out a total different experience on the show. And I know now, months later, after the we did week 5, I recreated, like, I one of my other kind of fears is having something like crawl out of my mouth. Essentially, like, do you know that video on Instagram of Billie Eilish and a tarantula comes out of her
Oh,
mouth?
oh no. Oh no. No, thank you.
Yeah, and like
I can't even watch
those
it. I like throw my phone. Like,
those things kind of like only cross my mind a few months later. And that's kind of like the pressure of, we get a limited time prior to when we do the creative briefs, but I think it's almost like a wall where you try to think so hard about what you should be creating rather than what comes to you naturally. And I did a recreation on my Instagram of, like, something essentially coming out of my mouth that just looked more horrific. I could have
yeah,
rolled with that. That week, when the creative briefs were really my, like, play zone, I played it safe, and I
yeah,
had a good feeling myself once I saw how everyone kind of, like, fared out when the 2.5 hours are up. When we are in the breakout room and the models are getting photographed, it's like
Yeah.
separate to the studio. And I remember standing there with the guys, and it's always just before lunch. And I was just like, Hannah, you're fine. Bernie, it's probably you and me. And I remember being like, it's anyone's game.
Yeah.
So again, I was already prepared for what could happen. But then for me, in my own mind, you know, I was supporting myself to be like, just go with the flow. Whatever the face-off task is, give it your best shot. That's what any of us did at any point throughout the competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like when you look at the contrast again here, I really like this one. The druid's strength, protection, and resilience. That was really interesting concept for this look. But you don't know how it's going to look when they take that photo, do you? Until it's on the big screen.
Exactly, and it's so nerve-wracking because it looks different in person compared to the studio lights. So, and that is a big thing as a working makeup artist when either you're doing beauty editorial, you're doing makeup for TV, hence the whole importance of the real life challenges. You need to know how makeup reacts to different lighting. And as a key tip, just as a broad point for anyone that ever is starting off makeup, because I get asked a lot, how can I improve my makeup or how can I, you know, understand more about makeup? Make sure you have good lighting and make sure you have good equal indoor lighting, or, you know, be able to compare. Like, I have a ring light for shooting my makeup now, but I'm in a room where this is a conservatory. There's natural light that comes in. I will step up and go to natural light and see the difference. And that was part of the challenge. It's like a secret hurdle that you don't get briefed on. So when you see the photo up for the first time, for me, referring to my looks, when I stood up there, I almost would have like a gut feeling if I'm like, I'm happy, or there's going to be critiques about it. And when I saw the tree one, I felt more relief because, you know, everything is intensified when you're getting into the quarters and semi-finals. And I kind of thought to myself, that was my third time in the red chair. Third time lucky, third time not lucky. Like, is this going to be RuPaul's Drag Race? Curse of the third elimination round, or the third chair. And just, you know, it came together.
Definitely.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
What I love about from going from look 6 Druids to look 7 is that you went from more of a 3D impact here. And my goodness, is it such a change from the look for the week before? You know, I think it's quite a challenge to go from Druids to I'm going to do Earth this week, because obviously they're quite similar. But the way you made this look like an actual stream is amazing. Like, I love the way the stream runs down her face as well. It's so clever.
Oh, thank you so much. And by the way, I just see comments, and I want to say hello to everybody that has been dropping in some comments. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed Glow Up. And hello to everybody. There's loads of comments here. Perry, you're such a popular guy.
There is a lot going through. Now, I think there's some of your followers as well, James. So
hey, everyone. It's so good when they come together. Do you know, for the semi-finals brief, it was we didn't get to prepare for it. It was like a flashcard kind of taken out of a lottery system. Wow. The second I saw Earth, I immediately thought of my hero look from the week before. And I remember thinking, damn, like, I'd done such a color palette that was green. It was Earth. What could I do to like execute this more? I had thought about more or less doing what you see in the model, like the model's neck, the full earth, the dry clay, almost like the power of lava, like the generation of earth as the element. It kind of creates, like, you know, energy under the surface.
Yeah.
But I think just down to maybe lack of practice, where my gut took me in the moment, because, you know, time is a ticker. We don't have time outside of 2.5 hours. I just kind of went with it. And I started playing with hair at the beginning, and I put it down the model's face. And then I was like, do you know what? I've started. I'm not going to go back. And I just thought about the cycle of the earth. And it's open to debate. I think the judges' comments were what they were. I honestly disagree and agree. You know, I fought my corner because I thought, like, there was another comment that had actually not been said on camera where Rankin had said, James, you know, what on earth were you thinking? And I explained myself to him. And, you know, come see, come sa, it wasn't the best of impressions for me and Rankin. It's just the way the ball rolls. Yeah. And that's something, you know, I've like, you know, I think the most nervous for the semi-final show throughout the whole series, knowing what had happened.
You're almost there, you know, last hurdle.
And it's quite funny. Rankin had made a comment actually where he said, we asked for Bjork, but you've delivered Enya. if he was thinking, I don't know if he was thinking from like a finesse point of view, like, you know, that he wanted
Yeah.
more fashion compared to something a little bit more comic. I'll only speak for Irish culture. Enya is an icon in Ireland. So I was like,
Yes.
this is like, if Enya is what I gave, Enya's going to be good enough for me.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I just think that's brilliant because for me it gave me very Avatar look. The stream reminded me of Avatar as well, and the way you did the detail and
Yeah.
the kind of roots as well.
Oh,
That was
thank
clever.
you.
You know, that was clever thinking on your feet. Like I
Mm.
give you that. Like I wouldn't have been able to do it under that time pressure of, you know, right, I'm going to grab this hair and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for it. And you took that risk, which was great as well. And I think they
Yeah.
probably admired that a lot because I certainly did when watching.
Yeah.
But we've got to move on to the final look, which was Osmosis, which of course was the most beautiful, stunning finalist look. Like, whoa, like all of those little bits of streams kind of coming out there, like it's just like wow. And under the light, even more incredible, because I remember seeing it when you were doing it. I was like, oh, I'm not sure what he's going for here. But then
Yeah.
when it put under the light, it just made that, it just stands out, doesn't it? It's like actually, I'm going to excuse the pun, it was a glow up, like literally.
Well, there you go. Essentially, you know, and knowing what, obviously, knowing and having experience filming the show, I could see it coming up in the opening credits every week. And,
Yeah.
you know, bit by bit, I have some really devoted followers that were trying to guess who came where. Because I think someone in the quarterfinal has messaged me and said, you're in the finale, because they were like, you're wearing a different top when you jump off the step into the breakout room
So
with Eve.
clever.
And you definitely, that's your line work. And you've done the yellow Fuller's Earth. And I just like sent back like the look emojis being like, I ain't saying anything.
Yeah, you can't. Exactly.
But
Why spoil it?
no, I am very proud of it. And it really was an amalgamation of kind of like all the different techniques I brought to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And again, fun fact, in the apartment, having it just been when Hannah had left and it was just Eve, Ophelia and I, with a production assistant that lives in our apartment, Lewis, we actually ended up watching Moana the night before the finale, or 2 nights before the finale, and it was just to kind of like calm our nerves, like get our brains off kind of thinking hybrid, you know, real adventurous makeup, or like, you know, pushing your creative mind for like 7 weeks running. And there's, I don't know what just clicked. There was like a scene where like the Moana comes out of the water and the rocks, and like I just saw like the lava coming through the bubbles, and something just clicked. I literally just had a memory where I remember doing osmosis in like junior cert science, and I was just like sitting there snugged up in a hoodie, like with like Chinese takeaway with the girls, and I was just like I was like, guys, I actually need to leave. And I actually got up, ran to the workstation that we had in the kitchen, and I was just like, write it down, because I was like, this is it, this is the idea. And you just have to like grab that like moment when it happens, because it was gone if I didn't like, you know, archive it. So this is, you know, essentially something that I wouldn't have done or thought about at the beginning of the show. And again, I guess that's where, as a competition and from the judges' perspective, they want to see the contestants grow. They want to see you, you know, jump over the hurdles of like, you know, your trial and errors, like grow as an artist. And yeah, I just think for me, regardless of the outcome, but without question, I'm so beyond happy to have Ophelia like just be the winner. She's insane. I look up to her as a huge inspiration. I think everything just happens for the right reasons, and I'm a hugely happy and proud, you know, first runner up. And I was just proud to, you know, have gotten that far and be able to showcase this look to kind of, I guess, express my emotions or how I felt looking back on the whole, you know, just the whole experience.
I think what was really lovely is you were all very, very supportive of each other. You, as a final three, you know, in a lot of other shows, you see the catty side, but what the beauty of this show was, and I think especially during lockdown, it would have been pretty miserable to see arguments on camera at this point in time, you know. And I think 100%. It was really nice to see the friendship that you built, not only with, you know, as contestants, but also with the judges. I think, you know, by the end they were super proud, they were crying, getting emotional. But talking about friendship, you recreated this osmosis look on your friend Jen Morris, who's also from Dublin.
Yes.
I mean, and this is progress. Like, when I look at this and you up against her here, the difference in detail, because you're able to actually zoom in and have a little bit more time. You're not under time pressure. What was it like recreating this one in particular? And why did you choose Jen to recreate it on?
So Jen and everyone here at Jen.Mars highly recommend following her. A huge name in the influence beauty, like the Irish beauty scene in Ireland. And she's a really good friend of a friend that I met through college. She's like a mutual contact. And when I was starting out doing makeup 3 years ago, I actually met her, and she'd been working in makeup for years at this point now, since she was a teenager, right up to, the current situation.
Yeah.
And I had actually contacted Jen in secrecy, like, well, just before the Globe finale, because I know Jen, she's worked as a professional artist in Dublin. She's done various master classes, and I was like, Jen, listen, I'm in the finale of the Globe. She knew what it was. She was like,
Oh,
oh my God. And I was like, listen, what tips would you give to make sure that I just hit the brief, get the brief on point? And she's just been a massive support to me from when I even started doing makeup. We've gone on like nights out before. Again, I met her through a friend. And after Glow Up, I had gone back to work. Christmas came around, and then I was fortunate enough that I actually went traveling for a month back in January to
mhm,
India. My cousin, who's Irish, she works in the industry as well as a costume designer.
mhm.
Sinead Caddow, highly recommend looking her up. She actually was the assistant designer to Jacqueline Duran. They won the Oscar for Best Costume this year because they
Wow,
did the costume work for Little Women. And
incredible.
she also was an assistant on Beauty and the Beast, which got a nod 2 years ago.
Mm.
So my cousin Sinead was getting married to a gorgeous Indian guy. We went traveling, and having been out of makeup for a month, Jen was the first person I'd done makeup on since like I think December, and this is the end of
Oh wow.
January. So I was actually scared to kind of pick up the brush again because I was kind of taken out of the whole creative realm
Yeah,
and like that thought process. But Jen is just a really open-minded like person. She's very supportive. She's very relaxed, and it came out kind of more finessed. And again, I think we did it maybe in like 3 hours, 3.5 with some chat. There wasn't as much obviously pressure, and that kind of helped me just get back into the swing of things.
yeah. And I was just going to say, out of all of these looks, there were so many. But which one was your favorite that you were like, yeah, that's the one that I would absolutely wear anytime, anywhere, if you could?
That's a tough one. I think everyone would immediately guess that I would say Bowie.
Hmm.
I think that one is definitely my strongest strength, but I did have the most fun creating the club culture look because that's something that I can just like really, relate to. I go out in London
Yeah.
wearing makeup like that when I go to like club nights, and
Hmm.
I can't wait for the next time to safely be able to go
We'll have
out
to go out
to a
in London
nightclub.
sometime when I'm back.
Oh, babe, consider you're on the list, honey. It's a given. It's a
Fabulous.
given. Yes, darling. And yeah, I think I loved creating this look the most. The final look, I'd have to say a tie between my club culture look and Bowie. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was at most peace creating the club culture look.
Yeah,
So because
definitely.
it really, really kind of spells, I suppose, me essentially, or what I love to do, bonkers slash the beauty.
Yeah, so there was a lot of enjoyable challenges, but there was also some like really challenging challenges. Out
Yeah.
of all of them, which one was the most challenging for you? Not just the looks, but also the physical challenges, because obviously you went to Lion King as well. That must have been really quite a challenge.
It was funny with Lion King. I actually was so excited, and not knowing the tone of the editing of the show, they all give like a little debrief to us when we're on camera at the start, and I was like, I'm so excited for the Lion King. This is my favorite thing ever. Like I think
Yeah.
this is really my strength, and let alone Red Chair. But come see, come saw. It's a learning experience. I just gave too much powder to the face. It did not look strong enough from the back of the room.
Mm.
And I think, I guess, I knew myself that if I had the ability to beat the red seat, if I was put into it, so be it, because I was much more comfortable with even the Waves creative brief, because I thought the
Yeah.
story of the mask
But
was
also, I
just too
think
much strong.
personally, because I go to a lot of theatre, it's what I blog a lot about. Theatre makeup is a totally different realm to beauty makeup and
Mm-hmm.
TV makeup. They are
Yes,
completely different industries, and each like look has to be different as well because you're under a lot more light than you would just a ring light or on film set outside. You have to stop the shadow more than anything, don't you, with on
you do.
stage that no and
Exactly.
every facial expression seen.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't even have that much theater makeup like experience. I think the only experience I had about trying to make colors pop and make things sweat proof would be from my drag, like when I do stage performance. So I kind of went in with like a good understanding, but then it just didn't fit my model's face shape.
Hmm.
That was difficult, actually. It was much more difficult than I expected, but I think the real challenge that was proven the hardest was the rank and shoot. There was a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, and I was far more upset than what even kind of was showcased on TV. I might have had a cry afterwards, but it's like,
Oh.
again, the tone of the show, they were quite respectful towards not showing that. So like there was some behind the scenes knowledge where every week I was apprehensive, thinking I don't know what they're going to pull out into the final edit. But you know, they made it kind of like quite clean. Like what was said, I don't take personal, because again, it's just a learning experience. Had I gone
Yeah.
back and done that shoot, I was first to go on the day, and I
Hmm.
had thought about using the metallic glitter pigment because I knew it would bounce off the water, similar to Eve's
Yeah.
look. Not taking a single thing away from Eve's in the image. It is the image of Glow Up, and it blows my mind. But
Hmm.
had I thought about worrying about being first to use the gold in the tank, thinking I'd dirty up the water for the rest of the contestants, they can clean it up. They can like have it ready for them to go again. I
Yeah.
should have done it. It could have been a really good. It could have saved the look from the hot mess that it was. And you know, it just was my learning experience there was trust my gut, because I hadn't done
Yeah.
the best makeup entirely, but I could have thought, like, you know, I was thinking about doing something to save it, and I held back. And it was like
Yeah.
there was no point to hold back at that stage of the competition. You have to really, like, you know, take the risk, take the leap,
Hmm.
if that be the case. And that was just the biggest learning curve, and I think the most difficult part, because it was almost like seeing an opportunity or a risk which I normally would like go for, and letting
Yeah.
it slip. I got more angry at myself because of that.
You absolutely shouldn't, because you know this is water we're talking about. There's so many more factors you have to think about. But an underwater shoot, like, ridiculous. I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this is like beyond anything I could have imagined for a challenge. Like, you must have
Yeah.
thought when they gave you the brief, you must have been like, excuse me, what? Water? I didn't sign up for this.
It's
It
funny.
must-
I did make a comment again, like all these little one-liners running in and out, and I just remember being looking at the tank, being like, "God, it reminds me of the farm, big old
yeah.
water trough for the horses at home." And I said it just as we stood on our marking point for when they film, like the brief being delivered. And I remember Val, she kind of had a giggle. She's just like, "It reminds me of the farm." She must think I'm like crackers. So, you know, it was insane, but it was like every week I just didn't know what to expect. If I had thought about the finale or wanting to get to the end at the beginning, it would have been far too overwhelming. I was very much live in the moment, step by step, because if they gave us every brief along the way, you'd be thinking about it before it even happened, and kind of like almost lose, for me personally, lose the run of like the focus on the now. And you know, it's too overwhelming to think of the end at the
Yeah.
start, but obviously still having like that initial eyes on the prize.
Hmm. Something that we should talk about with makeup that isn't always talked about enough, I feel, is skincare. So, do you
Yes.
have any top tips for skincare for people out there? Because obviously, it's so important that you look after your skin when you're using makeup.
Yeah. So the number one moisturizer, and I cannot recommend this enough, and I've actually been using it the longest in my career, is water. Drink water,
Hey!
water, 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 water. It is going to be your favorite moisturizer ever, because that's what your skin needs. And on an average, I say we all don't drink it enough. It's just, you need to have that like rehydration base, and it takes 40 days of proper consumption of water for it to actually come through to your skin. And
Hmm.
dehydrated skin is always an issue, going to, like, you know, start the imbalance of causing some like difficult skin issues or conditions. So I always find, you know, I know it sounds so basic without doing any product recommendations, but fresh air, water, and a good diet, because they're going to initially reflect how you essentially appear from what you intake on the inside.
Yeah.
And I would always just make sure that you like clean off makeup at nighttime. These are kind of like tips rather than like specific
Yeah.
recommendations. Product wise, I will say there's an amazing Japanese brand that I do use called DHC, and they have this double cleansing oil, or sorry, deep cleansing oil. And oil will fight oil when it comes to removing oil based products. Even for skincare, you don't want to be stripping if you feel you have oily skin. You don't want to be using strong astringents or the time, because your body's actually just going to generate more oils again, and that will
Hmm.
essentially, like, no, clog up your skin. So I actually would use
Yeah.
an oil-based cleanser, and then go in with something like rose water, to like relax the skin afterwards. And yeah, you know, things like double cleansing to take off makeup, but then remove dead skin cells. I'm trying to think of like at home tips. If you genuinely, because I'm all about the kind of saving convenience as much as like recommending products. For tired eyes in the morning, and this is what I would do even at home here, if you literally have a circle bud and you just like put a little bit of like spritz rose water or cold water on it, leave it in the fridge for 5 minutes, cut it in half, and that cooling sensation, leave it underneath your eyes. That'll reduce puffiness and it'll reduce a little bit of discoloration. And that's just with water, folks. Because
I
like
need to know that.
it's
I
the
love that.
it's a cooling sensation that'll help, you know, relax your skin. But yeah, skincare is essentially a foundation. Like I'm not a massive fan of doing full coverage makeup. Ironic, with drag, I do very full coverage makeup because I do change the shape of my face. I could be using a crazy color palette. But when it comes to like my boy glam makeup, I wouldn't like do more than like one layer or even full coverage.
Yeah.
It really has to come down to good skincare for me. Because like if you feel, you know, you've good skin from the beginning, having to use less product buildup, you're creating less texture as well. You're creating less of an issue. Makeup, good makeup artistry doesn't have to mean you use every tool and product under the sun in one essential, you know, makeup look. It can just be like your understanding of what is better for your skin, and then obviously what's going to like have a better payoff as well.
Absolutely. And finally, do you have any words of inspiration for any aspiring makeup artists out there, or for someone who's going to apply for perhaps the next series of Glow Up? What would you say?
I would say always do it. Like, that sounds so broad, but always do it. If you're thinking about it, do it. If it gives you that butterfly feeling in your tummy, you do it even more. Most of your like apprehensions and like, you know, fear factors are your own thought process. I've done a lot of free work. Always be up for showing enthusiasm. A lot of my like, you know, tips and advice to people are always mentality based compared to technique.
Mm-hmm.
Because technique, if you're interested in makeup and you are already a young makeup artist, like you'll always have that. Like you'll have the skills. That's kind of like a given. And if you keep practicing, you'll finesse them. But to kind of like differentiate yourself and kind of stand out to really pursue your career, show interest, be humble, be kind. It is a huge industry where it takes massive amount of teamwork. Like there's nothing more that I wanted to make sure that all the other like MUAs in the show, like as contestants, we all support each other, because like
Yeah.
their positive and like energy helped me kind of keep, you know, ahead in the game. Because if you know someone's struggling, it creates almost like an initial fear factor for everybody. So I would definitely like put yourself out there for showing willingness to work. Contact someone. You will be surprised that someone is not just sitting there getting contacts for no reason. People do want to like discover new artists and new assistants. So always be up for contacting the people that you want to help with. You know, there'll be logistics of when you can do that, when time's right. But I don't know, it gives people will talk about you and they'll like recommend you and they'll be happy with like, you know, your mindset. And
Yeah.
you know, I would just say again, find your lighting so that you can know how to do better makeup. Lighting is key to improving your makeup
Absolutely.
skills.
Well, we're coming down to our final couple of minutes on Instagram, otherwise it's going to chuck us out. But I'm excited to see your final look that you're creating right now. It's giving me very Ariana, Lady Gaga, Rain on Me looks. I feel like I
Yes.
need you to do this on my eyes when I go to Gaga in London.
Can't deny that. Yes.
But it was so great catching up with you, James, and I can't wait
Oh,
to see the final look. But thank you for your time. And
thank you,
everybody go
Perry.
and follow James. Be sure to check out all of his work. Go and like all of his pictures. But yeah, it's been a real joy talking to you, and I'm excited for what's to come next.
Thank you so much, and sure, we'll chat again. It's been such a pleasure, Perry. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Talking more when I'm in the zone, I can smack out a look. But I'm really happy that I got to
Absolutely.
share kind of the more insider things that weren't really like showcased on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you, James, and I'll see you in London for a night out when Corona is finished, hopefully.
It's
Fingers
a
crossed.
date. It's a date. See you guys. Thank you so
Stay
much.
safe. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye. Bye.
James.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.